Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off. Online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and in today's episode, we are joined by a very special guest, current professional hockey goaltender Mac Carruth. Mac is currently playing the Elite Ice Hockey League for the Cardiff Devils. Mac has spent the last 2 seasons in the Del 2 before playing 2 years in the EBEL the years before. He also spent time in the ECHL and the AHL for the first 4 years of his professional career, playing 4 years with the Rockford Ice Hogs in the American Hockey League with trips to the Toledo Walleye, Florida Everblades, and the Indy Fuel in the East Coast Hockey League. Mac played his junior hockey days in the North American Hockey League with the Wenatchee Wild for 1.5 years before playing the rest of his junior career with the Portland Winterhawks in the Western Hockey League and winning a WHL Championship in 2012, 2013. So this is going to be a fun episode, Mac. So welcome to the show, Mac Carruth.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
no
it.
problem. Yeah, of course. So like, how are things going for you? Like, I'm sure it's a busy time in Cardiff for you guys. Like, how's everything going there?
Good. We got it's kind of a weird schedule or weird league here, right? It's all about the league wins. It's not about playoffs. So every regular season game is a bit of a big one. We're in 4th now. Obviously wish we were in 1st, but then we have these cup games, challenge cup games that are pretty much just it's like a tournament within the season that we're through to the next round, but we still have, I think, 3 or 4 more games to play in that round. So they're just kind of, I guess, seeding games. It's pretty much just a money grab for teams to get more home games and stuff out here. But yeah, it's been good. My wife and I are enjoying Cardiff. I don't think we've ever been happier playing overseas, just the way we've been treated over here, which is saying something. It's tough to find an organization that treats people the right way, like in North America. But yeah, these guys do it right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, what's it like going from like a regular season game into like the cup challenge games? And like, how different does the intensity get then?
I mean, it's about the same, I guess. It's just for most of us guys that are here that are new, it's a game's a game, right? We don't really see a difference. Like, we want to win everything, right? But I don't know, for the Brits and for everything, like, Challenge Cup is like the second level of what you want to win, and then the league games are obviously you want to win first, because then if you win the league, you get in the Champions League there for the following season. So that's a big thing for your organizations. It's kind of a bit of a same thing, kind of a money thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So like we said earlier in the episode, like you're signed with the Cardiff Devils in the Elite Ice Hockey League, where you've been playing pretty well as well. It's like, how's this season gone for you and the team so far? Like, I know you said you're in fourth, but like, how do you think the team feels and just how you're feeling overall in that?
We got a group of guys. Pretty like we have 14 imports, so we have 14 North American guys pretty much, and then 6 Brits or 5 Brits or something like that. The league rules this year are a little different with COVID and stuff. To stay competitive, you're only allowed 19 players on your roster. I think we got 2 guys hurt right now that were on long term that are about day to day now, so that's good. But we've only played 1 game with a full roster, so it's hard to see what a real team looks like. But we've been battling through it, and we got a hell of a goal scorer in Brody Reed, who's been carrying us offensively a bit. And then we're just getting some secondary scoring from everyone else, which has been nice. But yeah, we got to kind of get a little push here going, get a little streaky would be nice, streaky in a good way. And then get us back on the standings. But from a goaltending standpoint, it's been good. Just got to find a way to make one or two more big saves a game to squeak out those other wins, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about when it comes down to it. It's just making that extra save when you have to and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, how different does it feel playing this season compared to last year when you were playing in Germany? Like, is there a different feel to it, or like, what are like the restrictions like with like COVID? Like, probably being a little more looser.
Yeah, COVID was tough. So me and my wife stayed for 2 full years. Didn't go back home in the summer in Germany. And then obviously we went back last summer due to us not having a contract out there and had our wedding and whatnot. But yeah, Germany was it's a bit different. I was in the Dell too, so there's only 4 imports there. So I'd say the level of play is not up to par of what it is here with the 14 imports. Just a personal opinion, I think we would probably dummy most teams out there. But yeah, it's just a little more consistent here. It's easier to play for sure as a goaltender. It's more systems. Where in Germany it was a little bit more run and gun, a lot more breakdowns. So you just got to kind of be ready for anything at any given moment. I faced a lot of 3-on-0s last year and 2-on-0s in situations that are just I haven't seen before. But that's part of European hockey. It's a bit run and gun, and it depends on what team you sign with, right? If you sign with a low budget team, and that's what you're gonna get a low budget effort out there. But we enjoyed it out there, and vice versa. It gets a bad rap for a small town out there in Eastern Germany, but we enjoyed it. We made the most of it, and now we're here. So we're bigger and brighter things here.
Yeah, absolutely. You love facing those 2-on-0s, 3-on-0s constantly. It's just it's fun when you are able to make the save. Like that's the best part. But other than that, it's a brutal game there. And congrats on the wedding as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, we had a bit of a weird deal. We had to get married via Zoom in Germany so she could get into the United States because she's Canadian. It was just COVID made everything a bit more fun.
Yeah, let's just put it that way. Like, how was the Zoom wedding? Like, what was that all about?
It was a bit I don't know. It was all right. The guy was in the preacher, whatever it was a good dude. It was pretty quick, just pretty much the signing of the documents, and that was about it. But yeah, with the COVID situation, Canadians weren't allowed in the US, so we had to get that done prior to us actually getting married in the summer. So there's a bit of a bunch of loopholes with the government we had to jump through even to get back home for me. So glad it's kind of looks like we're on the other end of it here, hopefully. But yeah, in the UK here, it's they're doing the passport thing, the vaccine passport thing, and I don't know, it is what it is. I'm not gonna get into it.
Yeah, exactly. But like, what are you most excited for the rest of the season in Cardiff, and just being able to build on the group of guys that you guys have and go from fourth to first?
Yeah, it's just that, right? Like we have a team that could win the league here pretty not easily, but we put a couple wins together here and start pulling away from people. It's should be a sure thing, but it's just getting the boys to buy into the systems we got going, and I think once we get a full roster back, we'll be laughing.
Yeah, that'll be great for sure. And before we head on to what you did last season, like I've heard some stories and from resources like other podcasts about people throwing Twix bars at you. Like what's the story behind that?
So I was in Hungary for 2 years in the EHL, the Austrian league there, or what is now the Bet at Home Ice Hockey League. It was just one of those little spoof things the teams do to get the fans involved and like what's going on in the locker room and stuff. And it was one of those like right around Christmas time, like what do you get or who needs their spirits brightened up the most or whatever. And I think we were a pretty bad team at that point. And I was a little cranky, a little competitive, and whatever. And one of our captains had said, like, Mac might every road trip, Mac gets a Twix for the ride home. Like if we win, I'll eat my Twix if we don't want to pout in the back of the bus or whatever. But so they heard that, and in Hungary, if you win, they throw like these sport bars, they're called. They're just crappy chocolate bars.
Yeah.
So they throw those on the ice and guys collect them up and bring them in the room and stuff and snack on them throughout the week. But I never did that because they're trash. They're trash candy bars. And so the next thing you know, the next game we went at home, it was, 300 Twix bars coming out of the rafters there. So it was pretty neat. And then the owners of the rink there, their son was a goalie, like probably a U6 goalie. And he would come running in to like the locker room entrance, and he would trade Twix bars for the crappy candy bars that I had. So that became kind of a thing that we did every game between the owner's kids and myself. So it kind of took on a thing of its own here in Cardiff after the podcast that Mosey did there. But it's enjoyed. The boys like it. They have a few Twix after the game. There's a few that go missing that I'm not sure who's eating them, but as long as they just won a game, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. You get to snack on it after, and like it's all fun and games too. Like it brings everyone's mood up no matter what the game is.
Yeah, fans seem to like it. Gets them involved a little bit, and that's the battle out here, is just getting people to come to watch games and spend some money on us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So I want to go into last season a little bit here. Like you played for 2 seasons for a team in Germany. I'm not even gonna say the name because I'm gonna butcher it. In the Dell too. It's like, what was it like playing during the COVID 2021 season, all like the restrictions you guys had to face, and like the importance of just getting out there and playing games?
Yeah, so in Germany we had no fans. Obviously, like most leagues. I didn't mind it too much, to be honest. Like after the first 2-3 minutes of a game, I was kind of into it anyways.
You're in your zone.
Yeah, you spend your whole career trying to block out the fans, right? And
yeah,
2-3 minutes in, you're like, oh, this is kind of quiet, like not a lot of energy going on. And then once you make your first save or whatever, play the puck for the first time, it's like, all right, we're here, let's go.
Yeah.
So for me, that was somewhat similar to what I've been used to just playing. Just because even in like the AHL and even in some of these leagues out here, like they're not every game is going to be a sellout. It happens all the time, right? But it was a bit different for some guys. I know some guys struggled. Like I know a lot of forwards and stuff had trouble scoring and getting into games and things like that. But for me, it was pretty good. I mean, obviously, just to be out and get paid, like that's at the end of the day, this is a job. So the fact that we were able to get paid for a year was pretty big, and nobody had to go back home and get a insurance job or a salesman's job. So it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's goalie's best friend when you don't have any fans yelling at you like Civ or anything like that. Like no one's chirping you from the fan section. So it's like it's all good for a goalie because you don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. Let one softy and everyone's all over you.
Yeah, exactly. So like what was it like in Germany, just being able or not, like what what was it like being in Germany those 2 years and just being able to develop and like go on to the elite ice hockey league the following year?
So we kind of we came from the EBL, obviously is a top league in Germany or in Europe, and then we got told by this team, Vice Foster, that we'd be able to get a passport, a German passport, if we played there for 2 years. So that was the selling point for us, my agent and I. Because if I have a German pass, then I play in the DEL, and that's, like I said, it's a job, it's more money, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
I get that passport. It's pretty much a license to print money until I'm 35, right? So that was a big selling point for us. Things happened out of our control. The team just kind of, I want to say shit the bed, but they waited a bit long for their hookup, and their hookup ended up retiring middle of COVID. So then I was kind of shit out of luck. So that was that. It was a bit frustrating, just kind of seeing the writing on the wall. That second year, passport's not coming. I'd spent 2 years here in a league that I might not have gone to had this passport not been available. But I had a great experience there. Met a lot of great people. Learned a bit of German. Like, I can understand German, cannot speak it. Very little, at least. Can get away in restaurants and whatnot. So all in all, it was a good experience. I don't regret going. Wish it would have worked out, but things were meant to be. And honestly, we found the best place I've played here in Cardiff. Like, we could not be happier here.
Yeah, it's the way things go sometimes. And I bet with that little bit of German, that when guys were chirping you, and then could you say something back, like when they're chirping at you in German, or were you just like, no, just like, it's not worth my time?
It's typical like US guy, right? Like, you find out what the swear words are real quick, and then you can go from there. But
Yeah.
I just kind of, everyone spoke English that played hockey there. So I just yell at guys in English.
Yeah, there you go. There's nothing better than yelling at guys in English.
A little easier for me.
Yeah, exactly. So during that year, you went 13-24. It's like, what was like your mindset throughout that time, especially when things typically aren't going your way sometimes, and you're not getting the big wins that you want? Like, what goes on through your mind, and how do you like overcome that like negative mindset when you're losing games?
Yeah, it was tough. Like, we went 500 usually in Hungary, winning and losing. And then you go to an even lower budget team in Germany there, and it's tough in Europe. Like, your fans expect you to win no matter what team you're on, but you're kind of a low end team. Your Germans aren't the same as the other Germans, nothing against them, but
Yeah.
and then your imports, are about the same. Whatever team you're on, they're give or take about the same. So you have a line that can match with anybody, and then you got your rest of your squad that's just doesn't quite match up correctly if you're a coach. And then you got me, who was getting paid to pretty much steal games or try to steal games, which is tough, I think, from a goalie standpoint, when you let in 2 goals and the game's over. You know what I mean? When you're only scoring 1 goal for 2-3 games at a time, you let in 1 goal, and all of a sudden the sails on the bench just don't have any wind in them anymore, right? The guys aren't going anymore, things of that nature. So, like, even like soft goals, that's game over. You'd rather let in 2 pretty ones than like a one that just doesn't look aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
But it was good. I think it was good mentally. Like, I learned a lot about myself and how to deal with things. But yeah, I'd rather be on a winning team. That's what I told the agent in the summer. Like, I'm done with that shit. And we found Cardiff. They're claimed to be a winning organization every year, and that's what they like to put in front of their fans, and we're just happy to be a part of it here.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you even though like everyone hates being on losing teams. Like, let's be honest here, but like you learn a lot. Like I've had that same experience where you're playing for on a shitty team. Like there's giving everything up, and you're just trying to steal games and only give up like one goal or one goal if that, and just you still lose. Like you just learn a lot from those experiences, and you're just able to bring that knowledge into yourself and go on to the next season and learn from those experiences.
Yeah, I mean, you're also probably getting 45 shots a night, so it's good that way too, right?
Yeah. Uh, yeah, it's nice. It's nice getting those shots because you get to develop a little more and you get to like face a lot of pucks, but sometimes it's nice to have those like 18, 19, 20 shots a game instead of like the 40 to 50 that you face.
Yeah, it's nice getting some easy wins out here, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So then over the course of your Europe career so far, you've had multiple like 40 plus game seasons where it seems like you're playing every game or every other game. So like how important is recovery for you when you are playing that often? Like what do you do to help yourself recover?
I'm a big cold tub guy. Yeah, just a huge cold tub guy. Roll out, obviously. But yeah, in Europe it's tough. Like I said, it's the organization thing. Like a lot of teams don't have cold tubs. I made a bet with the ownership in Hungary. If we won 7 games in a row, they would buy us a cold tub. And then we didn't have an ice machine, so I had to make another bet that they would get us an ice machine. And we ended up winning
Just keep
both.
growing.
Yeah, we ended up winning both bets, but they couldn't afford it until the end of the year. So I was there until they afforded it, and then I left. So didn't get to reap the benefits of it. But yeah, it's a lot of bus rides around here too. So any like 10-minute routine you can get to just kind of flush the legs out quickly, even on the road before you jump on the bus is big. I purchased some Normatex that I just can plug in on the bus. We have plugins on the bus, so just get those things draining and just a bunch of waters. Try to stay away from the beers if there's a couple games back to back, and then save those for the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. The Normatex work a huge difference. Like I'll use them and like it flushes your legs out right away and makes them feel good for the next game or the next practice.
Yeah, those are huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So then in 2017 through 2019, you began your Europe career in the EHL for Farivar AV19, where you instantly became a hit and had a ton of success in that league. So like, what do you think helped aid in that success coming from the American League to the EHL?
I think I just came over with a bit of a chip on my shoulder. Not that I still don't have it now. If you ask anybody, I kind of play with one constantly, right? But just a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I was with the Chicago organization for 4 years there, like you said, even more with like the draft and everything. Felt like probably a decade almost. I felt like I was there, but yeah, just a chip on my shoulder. I went to Providence on a PTO. They had a goalie get hurt that year and just needed a guy to come in and fill a spot. And I was just looking to kind of steal a job. And ended up playing pretty well there. They told me, like, we'd like you to stick around. I'm like, oh, I got options overseas. I need to, make some money here. They say, yeah, we can't pay you what you're gonna want. So go ahead. And all the respect to them for letting me know that, just to get out, and wasn't going to be a really an option to sign me anyways. So thanks to them for that. But yeah, ended up going there in November. I think Mark Byzantine was the goalie at the time. He got hurt or just like was kind of over it. I think he retired actually after a road trip there, and I think moved on to marketing or something like that. But yeah, I took his spot and just immediately, the crowds in Europe are fun, and if you're a goalie with a little bit of a personality, they tend to gravitate towards you a bit. And luckily enough for me, I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve on the ice too. So they loved it. And yeah, just kind of match made in heaven for the first couple of years there. Just was a bit unfortunate towards the end how it ended, but just like little unprofessional on both sides, I think, looking back, but don't regret anything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, what was that transition like going from North American hockey to the European style? Like you said, the fans are like it's like a circus style there, like you said, and it's just a lot more fun, like that personality. But like for hockey, like what was that transition going from the American League to the European style leagues?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was everything just develops a bit slower. Obviously, in the AHL, it's arguably the second or third best league in the world. But it's like just the ice surface, right? Like, so you're going from NHL ice surface to Olympic ice surface for the most part. And I think the first 2 games I might have let in like 2 goals or 3 goals. They're like far side on me from like the top of the circles. I was like, when you like you're going to make a save, you're like, oh, that's way wide. You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
and it just ends up in the net.
yeah, that's going into the corner. And then you look back, it's like 2 inches from the post. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then so we had to kind of dial that in a bit. Being a bigger guy, I can play a little deeper over here and let the plays develop in front of me, making it easier to push across when things do break down and things like that. But other than that, like, there's no trapezoid, or there's trapezoid here now in this league, but there's no trapezoid over there. And I'm a guy that likes to play the puck. So to venture out again was nice. Make a couple passes, help the D-men out a bit. So that was always good. Other than that, it was just kind of figuring out my angles on a different ice sheet, being more patient on your feet. Just like I said, things develop a bit slower. The passes that are 10 feet away, or they're now 15 feet away. So just trying to get to everything on your feet and get your feet set. And that was about the only learning curve I really needed. And then just kind of let my game come together from there.
Yeah, for sure. So would you say that it's more like a passing game where they're just trying to make that perfect pass, it's a bit wider, obviously, or would you say like they're shooting from every angle?
I mean, it depends on the team. And depends on how your team's playing too, right? Like, if we're giving up, guys in the slot, they're going to make those passes. We were in the CHL. We ended up playing obviously against the top teams in Europe, and yeah, their passing game was absurd. They would have a grade A chance, and if they didn't see any net, they would pass it to someone else, So those were difficult games, but like I said, those type of games make you a bit better. So lean on those going into the future here.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like it helps you stay patient too and stay on your feet, like you said earlier, because like you have to wait for that pass to be fully committed, or if they're going to shoot, like you have to wait for their commitment to the shot. Like you just got to stand on your feet a lot more and hold your edges.
Yeah, it's tough. There's just so much more time here, obviously, like bigger ice surface. So guys can wait and wait and wait and wait. And you got to, do the exact same thing. So
Yeah.
instead of things being bang, bang, it's bang, catch, release.
Yeah, for sure. So then your second year in Europe, you played in 55 games, including regular season and playoffs. So like, how do you feel during that stretch of the season, since you never played that many games in a season in your pro career?
It's pretty normal for me, coming from like Portland, and I was bouncing around quite a bit in AHL East Coast. Like I'd play probably 2-3 games a week, even if I wasn't on the same team, So I'd be up playing a game in Rockford, down, play 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, back up. That was kind of my career in North America. So it was honestly, it gets easier, right? When you start playing 2 or 3 games a week with 2 practices, 3 practices, you just kind of get on a roll, whether it's good or bad. You have a bad game, okay, you're in the next game. It's not like someone's taking your spot, which is nice in Europe. There's competition, but it's you're signed for this slot and it's yours to lose pretty much. Where in North America, it's a constant battle, right? Like they'd rather fire you here than bring in another guy to compete with you, and then they'll just bring in another guy, and if he doesn't do it, they'll bring in a different guy. So on that aspect of things, like it's nice to just kind of get on a roll. like I said, like get a shutout one night, banger in the next night. You win and you lose. It's the same thing over and over again. And generally know at this point in your career what's a good goal, what's a bad goal, what you needed to work on, and things like that. And then they have goalie coaches here or goalie coaches over Zoom now, which is what I'm working with this year, and where we're watching games and going over things that we need to work on in practice and things like that. So just like I said, just getting on a roll is huge. With 55 games, it's not a lot compared to like North America and the NHL guys put in, but with the travel and stuff, it does end up feeling like a full season.
Yeah, absolutely. So before you headed over to Europe, you spent 4 seasons split between a few different teams on the coast and then the Rockford Ice Hogs in the AHL. So like, what were those 4 seasons in North America like, and given your start in pro hockey?
I enjoyed it. I really did. I really enjoyed my time in the East Coast. We had a good guys there in Toledo. My first year was a not so good team, but a lot of veteran guys that taught me how to kind of navigate through the pro nonsense. So that was good learning curve there. And we were so bad that Rockford pulled me up for a couple of days and then sent me to Florida, where they had a chance to get to the playoffs. Had a great time down there in Florida during like spring break and stuff like that for the college kids. So I could just kind of learned how to enjoy myself off the ice down there, which is something I hadn't done pretty much my whole career up until that point. Kind of checking into the rink and being a pro then, and then when you leave the rink, you're just kind of checking out and enjoying yourself, and obviously being ready to go for the next day and not being an idiot, but just hanging out by the pool and having a good time, right? So that's helped me kind of love the game a little bit more and hang out with the fellas out there. They ended up not making playoffs and didn't need to have me on the payroll. So they brought me back up to Rockford, and then I spent the rest of the year there. That was my first year pro, pretty much in a nutshell there. And then just Black Ace for Chicago at the end of the year, with Rockford being in playoffs. So learned a lot just watching those guys go through the St. Louis series. I think was the first series there. I think it was whatever it was. I don't know whatever year that happened to be, but they went to a few overtime games and having to sit in the locker room, being the third guy, like watching on TV like the rest of everybody else, but being so close to the action was a bit weird, but had a lot of fun. Those guys treat everybody like equals there. Patrick Kane, Jonathan Tays, those guys is talking to you at lunch or pregame, just like a normal person. It was pretty cool. So good experiences there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, what were some of the things you learned from watching those NHL games that you're able to just think about and like take back to your own game, especially from like the goaltender point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I know Crow gets a bad rap from a lot of people just on his game and whatever, and I just think he's just not as flashy as most guys. But I've never seen or never worked with a goalie on the same ice surface that's so fast with his feet. We would do drills in development camp or when I was skating with the Black Aces or whatever. And if Corey was out there, it'd be like I was in mud and he was just on fire. Like he stops with both feet. Like it looks a little unorthodox, but like so fast in and out of each set. I'm sitting there T-pushing, stop, T-push, stop. He's T-push, stop, just through the drill so much faster than I am. So that was obviously a good goal to set, try and keep up with Corey. Yeah. And he was just a great person as well. Just any questions I had, he was whatever.
Yeah, for sure. So then the next 3 seasons, you split time between the coast and the AHL. It's like, what did you learn from playing in the ECHL and the AHL your first couple of years since coming from juniors in the WHL?
Yeah, I think my first year pro, I learned like how to you're on 2 separate teams pretty much, and you're not really a part of either. And when you're up and down, and I learned to in the AHL, like you're kind of you're the backup. You're like I wouldn't say it the whipping boy, but you got to be out there, first guy out there, last guy off the ice. You're taking slap shots from the hash marks. Like you got to like love wearing slap shots off your collarbone at that point.
Yeah.
You laugh it off, and the boys love it. You can laugh it off and like get hit in the head, and just keep on going to the next one, and just compete. The boys love it. You go up there and act like you're all time, and you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that, then they're not gonna want you in the net anyways.
Yeah.
So you go up there and you compete in practice, and then when you do get in, the amount harder they work for you is just incredible. And then you win, and the boys are all fired up that the call up got the win or whatever. And then when you're in the coast, like unfortunately for the guys that are in the coast playing goal, like those AHL guys get sent down on AHL contracts, and unfortunately it's just kind of their net, and going down there and having a goalie partner that's probably not the most happy of campers with you when you get sent down, just kind of knowing how to be a good goalie partner at that point, you kind of going to learn that role as well, because you can't have a guy sitting on the bench just fuming mad at you. It's not a good team dynamic to have. So just kind of, not really staying humble, I would say, but like, because as a goalie, you kind of need a little bit of a fuck you attitude as well.
Yeah.
But just, having guys out for lunch and stuff like that helps when you're down there. Just make it a little more part of the team, because you do need those guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just being a good teammate, like it goes a long way, especially for your goalie partner. Like you'll get that respect when you are that good partner, even though he's trying to take the net from you, and vice versa, even though it's your net already. Like he's trying to steal your job, and but like when you just do that, like do those small things and be a good teammate, like it brings you guys closer as a duo.
Yeah, and having a good tandem's always good, because you can make fun of the boys and chirp the boys for being dummies all the time too.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were successful in your time in Indy, going 17-13-7 with 3 shutouts. Like, what were some of your keys to success in the ECHL during that season?
Yeah, I think that was the first year in the league for Indy. So the crowd was a super big part of that. We had to kind of have the honeymoon period where we could get away with a lot of stuff, and the fans would still be back the next day. Obviously, we were pretty successful. Our ownership put a lot of money into everything and made sure that anything we needed, we had. So that's a big part of it. We just didn't have a lot of excuses to lose at that point, which was nice. But yeah, I had Shane Owen as a goalie partner there. He's great. He's out here in Fife now. Good friend. But we just had good teams. We had a good team there. It was easy. We had great apartments, like happy life. It's a little bit easier to win hockey games for ownership, right? If they put you in a dump, you're probably going to play like a dump,
Yeah.
So our apartments were nice. They took care of guys. I had never got paid in the East Coast, but from what I've heard, they paid guys, what they were owed on time, and that's half the battle for a lot of these teams and a lot of these guys, right? So because it's not much when you're in the Coast, it's you're just getting by. But
yeah, exactly. But it's nice when they put you in those good apartments, good places to actually like live, and just not in some dump, like you said, in some shitty place.
Yeah, you're not worried about who's knocking on your door and things like that. So it goes a long way for the players when the organizations, care about you, and you're not just a piece of meat.
Yeah, absolutely. So then in 2013, 2014, you signed your first AHL deal with the Ice Hogs, where you played in 7 games that season, going 2-2-1. So like, what was it like playing your first pro game and getting your first pro win?
I honestly don't remember my first pro win. I wish I did. I'm sure it was on the road somewhere, but it was great. I signed my NHL deal. I ended up burning a year going back in juniors due to the lockout, and then that following year is my first year. And getting that first AHL win was big. Still got sent down, I think, the next day.
Of course.
Yeah, still got sent down the next day. But just those little stepping stones, those little goals you set for yourself at the beginning of the year, you're just crossing them off as you go. It's nice. So I think obviously that was a big one, getting the first AHL win out of the way. Got my first pro win in the East Coast in Toledo, so just getting those little stepping stones out and finding out that even if you win a shutout in Chicago against the Wolves, on a 35 save shutout, win 3-0, you're still going to go back home to Indy on the bus.
I guess that's the reality of it. You just never know what to expect. You could win a big game and then get sent back down right the next day.
Yeah, that's contract. I was behind Michael Layton, Scott Darling, Antti Ranta. Yeah, there was some NHL studs in front of me, right? So
yeah, it's a lot of good NHL goalies there. So then, so do you have any welcome to the pro moments, like stories where you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, do you have any of those stories where it's like it's just chaotic in the AHL, the coast, like anywhere?
So my first few months, like I probably got called up 12 times, right?
Wow.
And from Toledo, Ohio to Rockford, Illinois is not a small trek. It's all of 5 hours, possibly 6, depending on which way you go. And I just signed my NHL entry-level deal, 2 years prior. Got my signing bonus that I thought was so sick, and I was loaded, but really I was a peasant. Bought like a F-250 diesel truck, and that was probably perfect for going on the highway and stuff. And then it was used, so it ended up costing me $1,000 a month to fix it from traveling highway. And then one day I was like, oh, there's a Ford Raptor for sale. Like that was my dream car, was Ford Raptor, and there was one for sale in Toledo, Ohio, and it was used, but it only had 10,000 miles on it, I think. And so I'm like, yeah, like let's trade it in, like figure it out. And I was planning on just like, if they didn't want this certain number for my truck, I was leaving. And so I left on the way and I gave them my truck and just had no car. I was just going to go no car for a bit. So I got the number I wanted for my truck, but they needed to come down on the Raptor. And then I got a call from Rockford, like, hey, you're getting called up. You got to be here tonight. We're playing tomorrow. I was like, oh, well, I don't have a car. They're like, well, you need to figure it out. Like, call the dealership back like Sunday morning. I was supposed to be there Sunday night. Call the dealership back. I'm like, hey, we got to make a deal. Like, they're like, all right, well, we can do this. And they maybe came down like $2,000 or something. So I went there, bought the truck, and packed up and immediately took the truck on a 6-hour drive to Rockford. And that was my brand new truck for the next 10 years.
There we go. Just that's interesting. That's crazy. Like, you had no car, like figure that shit out. Like, that's, you just gotta come get down here as soon as you can.
Yeah, I mean, if it was without fail, if I had girlfriends at the time, my first year pro, like if they scheduled, or one of them scheduled a flight to say Toledo, for sure, if they were boarding that week, I was either going up to Rockford and they had to cancel the flight, or if they were going to Rockford, I was getting sent down to the coast. Like, it was just, every single flight, my mom purchased a flight, my dad purchased a flight, every flight got canceled. Not one person was able to visit me that year due to just the amount of like logistics and everything going on. So it's a bit chaotic. It's not as glamorous as people make it out to be playing pro hockey, but if you're single, it's great.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get a girlfriend out, then you're gonna have some problems if she has trouble not being able to plan things right away.
Yeah, nothing adds up. Everything's just on a different wavelength at that point.
Yeah.
Bit of a suitcase there. Yeah. Yeah, so I want to move on to your junior career here a little bit. So you played 1.5 years in the NAHL, starting off with the Wenatchee Wild, where you played in 47 games before going to the Portland Winterhawks, where you played in 251 career games in Portland, where you also won a WHL championship in 2012, 2013. So like, what were your years of junior hockey like, and working your way to a WHL championship from starting off in the NAHL?
Yeah, so I was in the NA with Wenatchee there, with Mosey my first year. I think I was like one of the youngest kids in the league. I think I was 16. And for a goalie, obviously, that's a bit strange.
Yeah.
I think we had a 20-year-old as another goalie, and we split for the most part, if I remember correctly, that year. And then I ended up taking the job over in the finals. I think he pulled himself in one of the playoff games, and I came in and we came back and won. So it was kind of my job to lose in the finals. We ended up getting spanked a couple games in a row. He went in. We ended up going to the finals of the NA that year. Lost to I forget who it was, but we lost in the finals. Got second. Went back the next year as the guy. Went 10-0. I think my first 10 games.
Not a big deal. Not a bad start.
Yeah, and then at that point in my career, I was committed to University of Minnesota Duluth since I was like 14. So had that going for me, and then I got a call after my, what I thought was a stellar performance, saying we need a guy to come in this year because our goalie Staylock is leaving. So you got to stay in juniors another year for like it logistically to work out for like 3 guys, 4 guys, whatever it might be. And in my head, I was like, can't stay in the NA, like got to go to the USHL. They were not allowing me to go to the USHL due to a coaching tiff between the coach in the USHL that had my rights and the coach in the college that had my rights, obviously. So I was just staying in the NA, which I thought, it was a good league at that time. There wasn't as many teams and everything like that, but I'd kind of done everything I could do minus win the league. And we didn't have the same caliber of team we did the year previously. So my old agent and I decided like we got to kind of start looking around, and there's been WHL teams that have been talking to me previously. And we'd always just kind of turn them down because I go in as a true freshman to college. Was kind of the goal. Yeah. And now it wasn't the case. We could kind of start looking around. And Portland got my rights eventually after a few other teams did, and we just weren't interested. And had to get like a lawyer to come in and negotiate my my departure from Wenatchee because it was my draft year. They wanted money for kickbacks from the draft or whatever it might be. So they had to get a lawyer in to negotiate. I took like a 2-week hiatus from school and sport. I stayed at home and did nothing. So eventually someone was going to have to step in and get me out of there, but it ended up working out. I drove to Portland, practiced that day, and never looked back.
Yeah, a wild ride for sure to get to Portland. But throughout like your time in the NAHL and Wenatchee, like how were you able to find where you belong during that season when you come in and you're 16 years old, you're a young guy with a 20-year-old goalie partner? Like, what do you do to fit in and find where you belong?
Yeah, I was a 16-year-old with a bit of an attitude, for sure. I don't know, if anyone said anything to me, it was go time. I had no problem standing up for myself at all, whether it be good or bad. So I had a lot of learning to do there, for sure. But I was always been a super intense guy, in practice and in games. So just kind of learning to harness that in a bit, in practice, especially. But in games, it was always seen as a good thing. I was always ready to go. Never an issue about that. But just kind of learning where the line is in practice and like we've talked about, just getting along with your teammates and things like that. It's where I kind of started to learn good and bad there. And we had an older group there. Mosey was probably 18, 19 at that time. So a lot of guys like teaching me things that, good and bad. But that was a good first year pro experience, or first year juniors experience. I think if I would have gone straight to the WHL, I might not have ended up like this, obviously. But I think that was a good kind of like mini stepping stone to get into where I wanted to go.
Yeah, for sure. A good start to a good learning start to your junior career, which then you get all the way to Portland. So you made a huge impact in Portland with the Winterhawks. So like, what was your experience like in Portland, being the guy in that since you came to Portland, just like getting that role right from the start?
Yeah, so it was a little bit of a learning curve. I think my first game I got lit for 7 against the
Oh,
Vancouver Giants, and Gallagher was still there. And they were a wagon team, but like they gave me the start, and the coaching staff just gave me a lot of confidence right off the hop. Like I came in, like I was visibly upset after the loss. Like they left me in there for all 7. Like, all right, kid, like stay in. I think the other goalie was a 20-year-old as well. He's an overager. But I just battled right the entire night.
yeah.
And it was just a different level of play from the NA to the WHL, and especially a team like the Giants, who I think were in first for majority of the year. To put me in there like that was kind of birth by fire a little bit, or trial by fire. And came in afterwards at a meeting with the coaching staff when we got home, like, hey, I know the result was what it was, but like your demeanor during the whole game, like, was all like Tom Brady. Like, I'm like getting compared to Tom Brady here. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, obviously my tires are kind of pumped up a little bit, right? But it's like, yeah, like you just kept playing your game, even though obviously it was 7 rip. Like, yeah, I mean, just not gonna like quit. And they're like, yeah, we love that. Like, that's the kind of attitude we want as our starting goalie. And I think that went a long way with me, just knowing that didn't matter how the game went result wise. Like they wanted me as their guy going forward, and just a lot of confidence got instilled in me right off the hop there. And had a great goalie coach in Tyler Love out of Calgary. Worked with me on a lot of things. I didn't know how to go into my reverse VH prior to going there. Like obviously you say that now and it's like, what are you talking about? But
Yeah.
it was a pretty new save back then. I think Michael Ayton got scored in game 7 against Philly. Chicago won their first cup there in 2010 when he didn't know how to do it, right? So learning that, and I think a couple practices in, he had me up against the boards by the throat because I was trying to fight one of the guys, and just still learning how to deal with things that happen in practice. And he wasn't scared to get in my face. He's a pretty intense guy. So having him there, and the coaching staff there was incredible. We had Travis Green, who's now the head coach in Canucks or Vancouver, and Mike Johnson, who was with Pittsburgh for a bit, and then now he's back there coaching as well again. But those 3 guys really were incredible, and like for sure the reason I have made a pro career this long.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just goes to show that sometimes like when you get lit up, like even though you're still playing your game, like coaches notice that, and that just even though you give up, you don't make 7 saves, like you're just that your coach noticed that and like wants you to stay in the net because of how you're handling yourself. Like it just goes a long way and boosts the confidence a little bit because you're playing your game even when things don't go your way.
Yeah, you just bounces are bounces. Goalie's a weird deal sometimes. You could have a guy not try at all and he'll make every single save, and then you could have a guy just trying his absolute hardest, sweating his balls off, and everything's just finding the way in, right? So it's just, and then the next day could be the exact opposite. So it's just one of those sports, one of those positions that is just tough some days.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So then in your second year, I believe you you had another huge year. You played in 85 games combined that season. So, like, what do you think helped in your success of taking that big step and getting the big time playing minutes to help develop you as a goaltender for going into the following years where you end up going on a big championship run?
Like we had incredible teams, right? We had Ryan Johansson, Nino Niederreiter, Sven Barchi, Ty Ratty, Brennan Leipzig, Nick Batan. Like we had just the list goes on.
Yeah.
I'm probably missing a few big names. Seth Jones was obviously at the end of my career, but just being around those guys every day, it's pretty easy to get up for practice, right? Like, these guys are going top 10 in the draft and you get to see their shot every day,
Yeah.
So just it wasn't ever an issue for me going into practice and taking it super seriously, maybe sometimes too seriously. Trying to stop everything and, finishing drills out when not necessarily needed. And then when you're playing 85 games and you're doing that in practice, tends to wear on the body a bit, but like you're young, right? I was 18 at the time. So I was just having so much fun with that group of guys. We were winning, obviously. That's a big part of it, making it a little easier. Bumps and bruises don't hurt as much. Um, but yeah, I think just the group of guys and the coaching staff and just the medical staff that we had around us, it was just a great time. Like like all 85 of those games just blend together as just a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And like when you're winning games and having fun, like those are the best days, and it makes everything like the bruises, like you said, a little less noticeable, and you're able to just keep pounding through and keep grinding, keep battling every day at practice or games or whatever the situation is.
Yeah, I mean we had such good teams. We would win games 3-1 and we'd be upset that we just didn't play correctly. Like
Yeah.
we'd get bagged after winning a game 5-4. Like it's just like there was a level of acceptance that our whole team knew what was acceptable and what was not. And didn't matter what the score was. We could lose 5-1 and be happy, right? But if we
Yeah.
didn't play to our best ability, that was it. Like we were in trouble, right? So
Yeah.
just that getting instilled in you at that young age is good, or was good.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So then May 12th, 2013 is the day you guys win the WHL Championship versus the Edmonton Oil Kings. So like what was that game like in the party that started once the clock hit zero? Because I'm sure that was a hell of an after party after that.
Yeah, so we had been to the finals 2 years prior and lost. And the old saying, you got to learn how to lose before you win, right? But
Yeah.
I think maybe even 3 years. But yeah, it was a long time coming. It was a ginormous weight off a lot of our older guys' shoulders who had been to the finals twice previously, and just fallen a bit short. But yeah, we were in Edmonton, and I think we had a charter on the way home. But I think I might have been the only guy that was 21 on the team, from a U.S. team. So I think I was the only guy that could drink. But
Chugging beers on the way back.
no, the old WHL doesn't let you do that, I guess.
Oh,
But
ruin the fun.
it was a good time. Took pictures in the locker room. Like we were out of there pretty quick, right? So we had the Mem Cup in I think like 4 days. So it was a quick turnaround for us. But yeah, it was one of the best experiences of my life. Like we had a great team. We were super close. They say, I guess everyone says that when they win a championship, but like, I mean, we had a few clicks here and there, but for the most part, if like we needed to do something as a team, it was pretty easy to get together and get it done. So, yeah, it was a great experience. It was in the old Rexall place there.
A legendary place.
Yeah. Those fans don't like me very much, but I'm glad my last game there was a win and got to shove it up their hoops.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So I have a few more questions for you before you wrap things up here. So do you have any tips for younger goalies looking to get to that next level?
Yeah, just me and my goalie partner talk about it every day. Like if you're struggling, just go back to the basics, get your feet set and hands in front. Like it's as true today as it was when I was 7. It's if you're struggling, it's probably because your feet are moving or your hands are behind your hips or whatever. If if it's not going well, just feet set, hands in front.
Yeah, that's a great tip because people usually don't like think of that when they think they're struggling. Like they'll change everything, but like go back to the basics and just focus on what got them to where they are today.
Yeah, exactly. Like if one of us lets in a goofy goal and we have a TV timeout, we'll talk about it obviously on the bench, and we'll always just kind of give each other a little smirk and say, feet set, hands in front, get on with it.
Keep it simple. That's the way to go. So my next question for you is like, what's been your favorite place you visited on the road in Europe and then one in North America as well?
So me and my wife, we were dating at the time. Hallstatt, Austria. If you're ever in Austria in the winter, you get a chance to travel around. Hallstatt, Austria is by far one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. It's a little mountain village, and at the base is like a huge lake, and it is unbelievable. There's nice little coffee shops around. It's typical like European town and whatever. So that was incredible. That was one of the best trips I've been on. And then back home, I live in Jackson, Wyoming, so it's tough to beat that scenery out there. I enjoy it quite a bit out there, but yeah, I'd probably have to say like just around Jackson, not necessarily in Jackson, but around Jackson. And then my wife's from Calgary, so we did some camping up in Kananaskis, kind of like Banff, and we enjoyed that quite a bit as well.
Yeah, probably have some of the most unreal views you'll ever see there, and I'm sure it's a great place to visit.
Yeah, it's a good place to go home and kind of see everyone for a bit. But like we've been enjoying it out here. We've signed 2-year deals everywhere we've been together, and then just kind of stay the summers out here, and then she goes back and forth once or twice a year, and I just go back once. But yeah, it's nice to kind of have a home base out in Europe and buzz around a bit and do that while we can, because it's not too many people get to do this and make a living.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like you said, not many people get to do that, and you're enjoying every bit you can get. Like that's unreal, and no better feeling than just having a home where the heart is, I guess you'd say.
Exactly. Yeah. And if it wasn't for my wife, I probably would just stay at home and play vids, but she likes to plan trips and little coffee dates and whatnot. So it's good to get me out of the house every once in a while.
Yeah, there we go. And I gotta end this with this final question. So you've been known to get into a few goalie scraps in your junior hockey days in Portland. So like, what was it like getting into a goalie fight? Like, how'd they start?
So I think my first ever junior, I guess I only fought in juniors really. First ever one was Jeff Bosch on Kamloops. Nino Niederreiter. It was just kind of like in the building in Portland in the Memorial Coliseum. You go off the same end of the ice, just opposite corners, obviously. And there was a bit of a scrum in the second period at the end of the period, and someone's helmet went by our bench, and he took a slap shot of the guy's helmet towards their door. And Jeff Bosch did not like the way we were treating their team's equipment, and had something to say to our backup goalie at the time, Keith Hamilton, who's like the nicest guy, the most soft-spoken guy you'll ever meet. And Keith's not going to do anything. He's just like, whatever. And so then I come in, I'm fiery and, I'm not scared to go anybody. He asked me to go. I say no. I think it was like 4-3 or something like that. Like not really a time to be fighting. Yeah. But then a fight started right by him, and just out of the corner of my eye, I saw him kind of cross-check our guy in the back who was in the fight.
Like it's time to go.
Now we gotta go. Drop my stuff. It was my first goalie fight, like real goalie fight I've ever been in. And so he grabs me. He throws 2 punches that are stopping like here. Like I got a good hold on him, and I just throw one, and it kind of felt like this is a perfect area to punch. Like broke his orbital bone first punch, and it felt like I was just punching like mashed potatoes. It was just like nothing to it. Like obviously adrenaline's going and stuff. And
yeah, the adrenaline's.
he went right down first punch. Like my first fight was a one punch, and like he went right down, and like everything kind of like rushed back in to my head, and all I hear was like guys like yelling Mac, like Mac, Mac, and I was like, thought someone was coming after me to jump me after I just one bombed their goalie.
Yeah.
So if you watch it, like there's a video online, I just kind of waddle off the ice, like no celebration, no nothing, just waddle off the ice. Everyone's going nuts, and like there's fights going on, breaking out everywhere else. And then there's guys coming out of our locker room because it was the end of the period, and they're like, "What happened?" I'm like, "I don't know." But yeah, that was my first one, and then my next one is at center ice against some young kid at a Sask, and he came in lefty, popped me with one. Contact fell out, so I kind of like did one of these ones, and then once my contact fell out, finally I grabbed on and fed him right. Yeah, fed him rights, and I don't know. Once you've been punched in the face once and you realize it doesn't hurt that bad, it's not a big deal. That's the scariest part, right? You don't know what you're gonna do until you get punched in the face, and I've been punched in the face more than enough to know that's not that big a deal.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But two goalie fights in juniors, like that's good. And you won. Did you win the second one, or was it like a draw?
Yeah, no one fell, so I'll call it a draw. Probably got.
But hey, you're 1-0. You're 1-0-1. Let's go with that.
No losses yet. No losses yet.
Yeah, exactly. But have you ever had an opportunity to fight in pro or not yet?
So the Jordan Binnington thing happened when I was on the bench.
I was at that game in Rockford.
Yeah, I was on the bench for that one. I was itching to get off, but had the seatbelt on me from the equipment manager. That would have probably been the perfect time for me, but no, it just never came naturally. And being that I did fight in juniors, Chicago was always kind of on my case for, if I touch someone after the whistle,
for stirring it up a bit.
Yeah, it was always a topic of conversation at the end of every year during negotiations. Mac's a bit fiery. Mac does this, Mac does that, and Mac did that in juniors. Mac doesn't do that now.
Yeah.
So it was always kind of a faux pas for me to get involved. They've had goalies do it since then, and they seem to be okay with it. So I think it was just them trying to reel me in and be the goalie that they wanted me to be going forward. Obviously, it didn't work out in the end, but I think both sides kind of regret not sticking it out, but it is what it is. I'm super happy I came to Europe and wish I would have came a bit earlier, to be honest.
Yeah. I remember talking to Mosey about the Binnington fight, and he's like, if Mac was on the ice, there would be a goalie fight for sure.
Yeah, I had the same issue last week. We were in Coventry, and big hit happened, and it was another North American goalie down there. He wasn't doing anything, but I probably would have been down. It was a pretty dirty hit. It was a line brawl going, and we were up by 4. So why not?
That's a perfect time to get into one.
Exactly. But yeah, it seems to never happen naturally when I'm on the ice. So if it does, then it does. But if it doesn't happen naturally, I'm not going to go scrapping around for one.
Yeah, exactly. I feel that. But Mac, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to following your career the rest of the way.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for everything.
Have a good one. Yeah, you too.